Our approach to keyword research, analysis, optimization, and keyword targeting differs from an organic point of view compared to your non-organic channels. The keywords that bring you impressions and volumes of downloads within your organic apps metadata doesn't necessarily translate over well to your paid channels, including Apple search ads, Google search ads, and vice versa, right? So your best performing keywords within your paid search channels doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be the right keyword for your app's metadata for many different reasons. A great example of this is, let's say you have an Apple search ad campaign and one of your best performing keywords in terms of volume of installs comes from a competitor keyword. Just for context, if you've watched the last video, again, let's just imagine we are a Web 3.0 gaming app. Let's say one of our competitors, let's just call them Web 3 Gaming App 2, for example, for the sake of simplicity, is one of our best performing keywords within Apple search ads. It wouldn't be the right strategy to use that same exact keyword onto our app's metadata, whether that's the app title, app subtitle, or the app description, because what we'll be doing is essentially giving that competitor more organic impressions, right? Or giving that specific keyword more volume, which is, in this case, if it's a competitor keyword, we don't want it to have volume, at least from an organic point of view. But that's just one example. Now, this video specifically, we're going to talk about 5 approaches to be mindful of that can help you in terms of not just keyword ideation, but also, finding the right keywords, how to approach finding the right keywords to target. I don't know if you're an app developer or you're the founder of an app company or you're an app marketer, but let's just assume that we have a blank slate. One of the first approaches you'll have to finding the right keywords, really, in essence, it starts with brainstorming, right? So being able to use your brain to expand keywords that you assume will help you drive more app downloads and app visibility within the app stores. And I'll give some practical ways to do that. First step really is getting into the head of your ideal customer persona. Another term for it is your buyer avatar, buyer persona, whichever term you're more comfortable with, and really embodying what would they search for that's relevant to our app's proposition or what our app does. So in this case, to extend that point further, let's imagine we are a Web3 gaming app. A great keyword might be, I want to win some crypto. I want to win Bitcoin or win Ethereum through a game. A keyword that might be relevant to target not just from an organic point of view, but potentially non-organic as well, is crypto gaming app. Very simple. Really, the whole point of mind mapping your user's point of view is at the beginning stages of app marketing, a lot of your growth is going to happen from the insights that you get. And a lot of the insights that you get comes from testing out different keywords because you're not quite sure what keywords are going to work. Be mindful of that with your mobile app growth strategy. And then the second practical thing to do is, if you have a team who's willing to do it, is whether that's doing it remotely or in an office, get together and expand on the initial keywords that you have in mind that you think is going to work for your app. What's interesting is if you get 2 people in the same room, everyone's going to have their own unique perspective, and you might start to hear keyword suggestions that you would have never thought of, because we're all unique in that sense that we see different patterns of life quite uniquely from our point of view. And generally speaking, the more points of view you have, especially in a brainstorming session, the better it is going to be for you. Third practical step, I had to mention this, using a tool like ChatGPT to give you further suggestions. So practical way of doing that, as mentioned, is again using ChatGPT. Why not use AI to help us? And I've actually already did this. A simple prompt: you are a mobile app marketing expert. Provide me a list of relevant keywords, obviously in relation to Web 3.0 gaming. And you can see here that ChatGPT provides relevant keywords. You can obviously extend this. Don't worry too much about the prompt. Just get into my thought process. I mean, just looking at this, obviously you still want to have your own perspective and point of view if these are quite relevant. But for me, I would think a good 80% of this is probably keywords you want to test out, or at least research more in depth to see if these are keywords you should add into your app's metadata, potentially test out in your search advertising channels. All right, so moving on, another keyword optimization process, more of a research piece, is Google Keyword Planners, potentially even adding keywords you got from ChatGPT. So just for the sake of testing that out, we'll copy and paste those onto Keyword Planner. And yeah, so if you want to be a bit more honed in, maybe let's just use the last 3 months, maybe. So from June all the way to August, you can see keyword volumes on average per month, year-on-year change, how competitive it is within Google search more specifically. Think of this process as a way way to not just get ideas, but this can even help with your product positioning. Your app's headline isn't quite strong enough. Potentially looking at relevant keywords that users search for might help in product positioning. The process of keyword optimization isn't just for getting more app downloads. It's there's a brand play to it. You want people to remember your app title, your subtitle, and your unique selling proposition as a business. Assuming you set up your Apple search ads campaign, you've created a standard search results campaign, you've already created an ad group with a couple of keywords. So one of the brands that I work for, Circle, they're a football gaming app. The great thing is that within Apple search ads, you will generally see keyword suggestions or keyword recommendations, as Apple search ads calls it, on the left-hand side once you go to the segment of where you want to add your keywords. So how you get there, just for the sake of showing you. So once you're at your campaign level section, you click on the campaign, go all keywords, add keywords, choose your ad group. Because this specific campaign that I'm running already has quite a lot of data, Apple search ads algorithm knows what potential keywords I should probably target or at least test out. So you can see this is another platform to use to, I guess, prospect for keywords, but also as an insight piece. So next up is App Radar. We touched on this in the last video if you've seen that video. Using an app like App Radar, I feel like it's a very fundamental software that you need to have or at least use as an app marketer. So onto App Radar, if you go to your competitor section here on the left hand side under overview, the first thing you'd want to look at is obviously add your competitors, and then you want to click on a couple, click on compare. Assuming you've added in keywords you want to track within your App Radar account, in this case I already have, I want to understand how we rank for the word gambling. Cool. So the keyword gambling, we rank 73. If we look at the keyword difficulty now, that column, it's 75 for gambling, and that's basically telling me that it's going to be quite difficult to rank. Might have a lot of volume, doesn't necessarily mean that if you target that within your app's metadata that you're even going to get organic impressions from that keyword. Same exact thing for your search campaigns. Even if we target the word gambling, it's likely going to be really competitive and potentially expensive. It's a fine balance of finding keywords that have enough of a volume there, but not too difficult to rank for where it's not too competitive. Another aspect you want to be mindful of is, again, if we go back to the competitor section and we go to the competitor metadata segment there within App Radar, it might be worth just looking at their app description and understanding what are the top 10 or top 20 keywords that they have repeated within their app description. Usually, so the only insight piece you can really get from App Radar in terms of app description is really keyword density, i.e. how often that keyword is used within the app description. And from my point of view, that's an indicator of what keywords they're trying to rank for organically. And assuming it's a relevant keyword for you, maybe you'd want to understand how competitive that keyword is. So in this case, if we look at, say, Bet365, let's look at the top 10 keywords they have. Let's find something not too generic. So let's say horse racing. In terms of keyword density for the keyword horse racing, it's apparently 0.92%. It's repeated 3 times. You can now then add on that horse racing or that specific keyword as a research piece, not just in Keyword Planner, Apple Search Ads. You can even try and track how competitive that keyword is. So if you go back here, so now you can add that keyword horse racing onto App Radar, which can give you more insights to see how competitive that keyword is and if it's possible for you to potentially rank for that organically. So now we've added the horse race keyword. Let's now find it and see the data. You can see loads of insights. Obviously, App Radar is going to tell you if you rank for that keyword, but more importantly, let's look at search volume. So search volume, that's a pretty good number. So 36 out of 100. That means there's enough volume there. It's likely that if you do add it to your search campaigns, you will probably get your your app listings page shown. But if we look at the difficulty column, it's at 65. That is basically telling us it's quite competitive. Even if we look at the app segment there's around 2,400 apps that show for that specific keyword. But then a fairly similar keyword like horse racing tips, as you can see, there's not that much volume, but the difficulty aspect is medium. There's not too much competition. And interestingly enough, there's only 100 apps that show up when people search for that keyword. I would think that this term horse racing tips is a keyword I would want to at least test out within my app's metadata, i.e. organic channel, as well as testing it out within your search campaigns. All right, so another approach that you can deploy within your keyword targeting strategy is just using the App Store's autofill feature. So in this case, I'm using Apple's App Store. And again, let's just imagine we are a Web3 gaming app. Maybe typing out the first 3 letters of your app sector is, or your unique selling proposition is, or product feature is, and letting the App Store deploy recommendations. And that's going to give you an insight into what are actually people searching for. So in this case, if we look at the left-hand example here, I type Web3, there's a couple of keywords that could potentially be of relevance. You still need to have a subjective perspective into understanding if these are relevant, but again, it's another insight piece. Looking at the right-hand side, crypto gaming or crypto GA, we can see a couple of suggestions here. Again, for me, these are probably quite relevant. All right, so now let's say you have a decent amount of keywords. I feel like that's the easy bit. Getting keywords in a Google Sheet or in a Word document that you potentially want to test out in your app's metadata or paid channels is really step one, right? Step two is now segmenting those keywords. We're going to segment them into not just whether it's going to be used within our app's metadata or paid channels, but now zooming in more specifically, segmenting them by brand, competitor, intent-driven, prospecting, and miscellaneous. And these are pretty self-explanatory. Again, if you've watched the previous video, this will make a lot of sense. So brand, these are basically your branded keywords. Competitor, these are keywords that relate to your competitors' app names or brand names. Intent-driven are typical keywords that your ideal buyer persona will search for within the app stores. So it's usually they're looking for a specific app to meet their needs or their search intent. Prospecting are keywords that are more generic in a sense that it doesn't necessarily mean that if someone searches for that keyword that your app solves their problem or meets their search intent, but you feel that it's a relevant term that can then introduce your app to that specific user's search query. So miscellaneous is the last segment here in terms of keyword segmentation. These are keywords that you're not quite sure which category to place it at. You can also call it a group of keywords you want to test out because you're not quite sure what it's going to bring. But again, the idea of growth, it's always about testing different ideas. So it's worth it to have this segment as well. And finally, we touched on it quite briefly. Once you've got your group of keywords, you've segmented those keywords, you've decided you want to test them out either at a organic point of view or non-organic point of view. It's now understanding the data behind those keywords. So understanding how much volume can that keyword bring you or how much volume it naturally has organically within Apple App Store or Google Play Store. The keyword difficulty, i.e. how difficult is it to rank for that keyword organically. Keyword intent, you might think that a specific keyword is a very high intent keyword, whereas you might have an opposing team member who might say that they disagree. They might not be that specific keyword you have in mind, might not be an intent driven keyword. Keyword rank, now there's 2 points to that. One is understanding how you rank for that keyword at the moment, but also understanding who ranks organically well for that specific keyword. Thanks for watching the video. Till next time, peace.